Yasmin, that is just what we saw. But what did that represent? That represented not only a singular, on the part of the individual who was before, a minister of the Crown, who was holding into disrepute the role of the chair, the role of the committee, and accountability, and was challenging those things. And what was most shocking is that not only do we see this in this particular instance, but it is indicative of the culture, unfortunately, of our government, of the government. And it is from time to time that we have to take stock of that, to take a step back, and to use as our touch test what you've experienced in your backgrounds, your history, the circumstances that you have witnessed, the experience that you have brought to this country that we have received as a legacy of accomplishment based on accountability, and compare that to what we saw in that particular interchange between the chair and that minister, but to extrapolate that and say, what does that represent in terms of how the government feels about us? What does the government feel is its responsibilities, its accountability, to act with decorum, to act with respect, and to carry that out into a society that is urging its leadership to do that, not only on the national stage, but also on the international stage. Because it's so important that not only do we believe in our leadership, but our leadership believes in itself, in its role. And I want you to compare that now from Yasmin to what we experienced through the Trudeau years, through the Pearson years before that, through the great prime ministers, and most of the great prime ministers. There have been some great conservative prime ministers, there have been some great liberal prime ministers, but what did they have in common? They had in common the understanding that, one, they were there to serve the higher interests of our community on the national and international stage, and second, to do it honestly and to give people confidence that together we can make a huge difference in the environment, a huge difference in the search for peace in the international regions of the world, that we could make a difference with respect to the role of the United Nations, that we could make a difference in terms of our diplomacy, that we could build professionalism and take that onto the world stage, that we could nurture and motivate young people to want to go into politics, to want to go into business in a responsible and in a vibrant way. In other words, that we could set that highest example, as did Paul Martin when he came in and he talked about our responsibility to our Aboriginal people. He brought forward the Kelowna Accord. He talked about early childhood education and learning, and what the role of our knowledge-based economy was. He talked about the international issues with respect to finding peace and security, how we could reinvest in our people and make them the disciples, if you will, to go out onto the international stage and to distinguish themselves, whether they were from our universities or from our professions or whatever, and that we could make a huge difference. That was the Paul Martin, that was the liberal way of doing things. That was the soul of our party, and that's what I think people are looking for again. And Yasmin represents all of those little bits and pieces. When you put them all together, is the kind of person who has come here, who now has, as a professional, has been very, very successful, who has involved herself in the community, who takes an active role in international issues and tries to bring people into circles of problem-solving thought, and to me epitomizes what our party and as individuals are all about. And so I'm here to, one, to give expression to that, and second, to thank you for the support you have given Yasmin. But third, to give you our commitment that we don't just give lip service to the principles that will build on the legacy that you have helped to build, but that we really mean it, and that we treat people with dignity and respect. And in doing that, in working with other levels of government to build a better city and a better province, I see Shelley Carroll is here, to work with those people in an upfront and transparent way, that there is no other thing that motivates us more than looking at our children, to look at our elderly, to look at those who are less fortunate than ourselves, to look at the opportunities that we have to underpin as a foundation of support, to reach out and to work with all people to build a better city, a better province, and a better country, and in so doing, to build a better world. And I have to tell you that as one who has just recently a little granddaughter, and I look at her, and through her, I am touched again by how humbling it is to know that that legacy that we received cannot be taken for granted. That there are huge issues in our country, but these issues are now being underscored and being touched by the lack of leadership internationally in terms of our search for peace, dignity, and human rights. And so we as Liberals are a team of people who have a soul and who have those values that we believe in, that we don't just talk about them, but it's the way we live, and that we are going to really be beacons of hope in a country and in a global sense where there are people who are losing hope. And so, thank you for your support. Thank you for supporting Yasmin, and thank you for the anticipation for something that may be occurring in the near future with respect to an election. Very little talk about coalitions. Very little talk about digressing outside and engaging the very superficial issues that the government seems to think are important. That it's our responsibility to create the real issues, stay with them, and use that as our platform to go out and ask the people for their support to continue the work that was started under the Pearsonian and the Paul Martin and the Jean Chrétien and the Trudeau eras, and that people can believe that we mean what we say, but we need the support from all of our communities. That's our message, and we mean it. And thank you for being there as journeymen of the party and helping us to build a better city and a better province and country and a better world. So, and thank you very much for getting behind me.
Small token of our appreciation for coming out and
well, thank you very much.
being part of our event tonight.
Well, that wasn't expected.
Thank you very much.